Hey everyone, Liam Ottley here, and today I want to point out the most common reason that I'm seeing in our community as a whole of people trying to start AI businesses or AI automation agencies and failing and not succeeding. And that comes down to being overwhelmed and trying to do too much too soon. And this is coming off the back of my free community Q&A and my school community, which you can join in the description if you're not already. But I do free calls every Friday for an hour with anyone who wants to come on. So we usually get 100 people on there every week. And some of the most common questions I get is how can I start? And people being overwhelmed with not knowing where to start or what tools. I know there's so many different tools. I tried to learn all of them. Now I know a little bit about all of them, but I still can't really build anything. And this is such a common thing that I'm seeing at the moment. And I guess I'm to some degree part of the problem here by putting out so much content and different, showing you different builds and other people as well in the space. Beginners getting into it think that they need to know everything all at once and learn it immediately so that they can be successful. And that is what I want to point out in this video is not the way to go. And it links into one of my favorite Hormozyisms, or his podcast that he's done at one point, which was talking about taking weight off the bar and linking entrepreneurship to the gym and weightlifting and training. And that there's guys who go into the gym and Hormozy says he always respects the guy who can go in there and maybe he's training with someone a little bit bigger, but he can go in and maybe doing the bench press, and he goes on and the guy before him goes and does a weight that's suitable for the guy of his size. And then the smaller guy comes on and he goes, you know what, I'm going to take a little bit of weight off the bar because I'm self-aware enough to know what my skill set is and what my level is so that I'm not biting off more than I can chew. And the same thing applies to entrepreneurship in that when you're coming into this, you shouldn't be looking at myself or looking at other people in the space as well and being like, that's the point that I'm trying to start. Right now, I'm running 3 different businesses. My Morningside AI, my agency, my education business, AAA Accelerator, and Agentive. And I had to do entrepreneurship for 6 years to get to the point where I could, and also get amazing business partners and people working around me to be able to do that stuff. So while I do want to show you through the stuff that I do, the end point that you can get to, and I mean, I'm always pushing forward, trying to do new stuff and really map the way out for you all. But if you're getting started, you need to start. When I started bench pressing and started squatting when I was 14 in the gym, I was doing it with an empty bar because my coach, my gym teacher at the time was like, you need to get the technique right. You need to just start off light and eventually you work up. And of course, over time I did. You have to get the technique right. You have to learn the basics before you can start to put any weight on. So I get this a lot. People talking about SaaS and productized services and this using all these buzzwords. And I'm like, mate, you haven't even got a client yet or been successfully delivering multiple clients. You guys need to just narrow down what you're doing. Well, firstly, these are really the main takeaways for this video, is that when you are starting, in order to take weight off the bar and not be trying to do more than you're able to do, is come into this and be like, okay, I'm going to, slow down and extend my time horizon. If you're thinking, if I told you need to achieve something in the space of 3 months, you would have a very different plan to if I said you have 2 years to achieve it. Now, let's assume that you have 2 years to achieve what you want to in the AI space. You're going to take a much different approach in that let's start with learning the skills first. If I'm going to be in the space long term, it's going to be helpful for me to put aside 3 months or so, maybe even 6 months of, 3 months I think is a good point for this, or 2 to 3 depending how fast you learn, to just learn some technical skills and learn the basics of how to use various AI automation platforms. And I've done a complete video on this that I'm going to link up here that I highly recommend you watch after this. But when you're starting out, instead of trying to do everything at once and learn VoiceFlow and learn my own platform Agentive and learn Make and Relevance and all these different tools, just start off with one area that you want to become a specialist in initially. And this is what I'm seeing the most success of, both in my accelerator and in the free community. You need to narrow it down, otherwise you just get information overload and you get stressed. If you have a small area that you can work on initially, then you can tick off the boxes as you go through and you're like, okay, I can see the progression in the smaller area. Later on, you can learn other stuff, but what I want you all to do is to pick one area, say AI automation. I want to become a Make and Airtable specialist and learn how to use those 2 tools and how they work together. Or I'm going to work on the Zapier ecosystem and become a Zapier ecosystem expert. Or I want to do voice-based agents and I want to use Vapi and I want to use Bland and focus on how I can build all of the core deliverables within those spaces. Or text-based agents, use Agentive and Relevance AI to build text-based agents. So I've done the complete video on this of 5 different ways to start an AI business, an AI automation agency in 2024, and that's going to be the best video for you to watch after this, which will be linked up here and down below as well. And in that video, I lay out 5 different areas that I've just done there of tech stacks and solution types that you can specialize in initially. And sure enough, you can explore other things later on, but in that video, there's a free school resource attached to it that I put a lot of work into it for you all, which is walking you through, okay, if you want to do AI automation and that's the area that you want to learn initially, and you're taking weight off the bar, you're being smart enough to just say, I'm going to start in one area and I'm going to slowly add weight within that area, and I'm going to become the expert and have some kind of proficiency and confidence. In that video, I linked to a school resource on my community where I've gone through and put, I think, 7 steps for each of those different strategies. So there's 5 different areas that I said you can specialize in when you're starting off as a beginner. And I've gone through and put like course, YouTube material and like articles and courses that I recommend you take on things like Udemy. And even like, it's mainly YouTube videos really, but there's seven or more different things for each of those to start in. So if you're looking for the place to start and you want to be sensible about not putting too much weight on the bar and you're a complete beginner, then that video is what I want you all to watch, and it's going to give you those step-by-step things on the school community. So it's very important that you start off with just one area, learning that stuff until you get good enough to be able to build your own and tinker around with your own ideas, and then go look, okay, what's the next step? I need to start applying this into the real world and building things for other people. So then what can you do? Well, I'd recommend you go and drop a post in the school community and advertise your services. Say, hey, look, I can do these, or maybe show some of the cool things you've done. Just putting your skills out there in a forum like my free school community, where there's tons of people who are non-tech savvy and they've come in with a decade of business experience and a ton of contacts. They are looking for people like you who are coming up, who are hungry, who are willing to put in the work to learn these things. And you can give them the help that they need to be able to get a feasibility assessment of what they want to build in their industry. So go into this free school community after you've put in some work in learning one small specific area and becoming capable. Then you can go into the school community and you can drop a post and say, hey, I do this. Or you can be commenting and say, hey, I can help you this. Let me know. I've just shot you a DM. And then beyond that, going to your warm connections as well. This is another, it's not a Hormozi strategy, but he has a very good video on it, using warm outreach to then pitch your services and offer them to people within your network that you know. So I will leave a link to this below, but Hormozi has an excellent podcast, and it's part of his $100 million leads book. That's going to be showing you how to do his warm outreach strategy, which is basically getting all your email contacts, getting all your phone contacts, and getting all your Instagram, etc., and then just reaching out to them in a way that's natural and saying, hey, this is what I do. Would you know anyone who's interested in it? And if you combine that strategy, that approach of, look, I don't want to put too much weight on the bar. I'm going to keep it narrow and just I want to get good at text-based agents, or I'm going to become a voice AI specialist, and I'm going to just learn all the key deliverables within that space. That is something that any of you can do. There's so much stuff on YouTube. I've given you a 7-step plan for either one that you want to do. And then once you've got a bit of proficiency, make a little bit of noise about it. Go into the school community, post the stuff that you're doing, engage with people, try to hop on calls. You can go on to reaching out to your warm connections as well and say, hey, I'd love to get some more ideas so that I can apply my new skills into the real world and make a big leap from just knowing the theory and knowing enough to get by to actually, wow, I've seen how this can actually change or make a difference in the real world. So that's my little weekend. It's a rainy Saturday here in Romania for me. And I thought after the free community call I had yesterday, this was a good topic that I think I should address, is that you guys can all do it, but you need to be self-aware enough to know that you need to start with an empty bar, which when you're in the gym, that's a pretty embarrassing thing to be doing. It's just lifting it's just lifting an empty bar. But same in business, you have to be able to swallow your pride, swallow your ego, and admit that I'm a beginner and I need to do the beginner steps before I can start to put more weight on and try to shoot for SaaS and all of these other buzzwords that people like to throw around. You need to know the thing and then do the thing before you can even start thinking about running a SaaS or something, all right? So forget about that stuff. You need to learn the skills, start an agency successfully, and then you can go into education, then you can go into SaaS, and you can go into all of these things. But you need to be like a much higher level entrepreneur or weightlifter to be able to tackle those kind of vehicles, because they're a lot more difficult. So that's all from me. I believe in you all. You know I'm rooting for you all. This is the number one thing that I'm seeing is stopping people, is getting overwhelmed and trying to do too much at once. So take my advice, and this is the aggregate advice of all of the stuff I'm seeing across thousands of people in our community, is that this is the most important thing if you are completely new and getting started, is to not try to take on too much at once. So that's all for the video, guys. I'll put another one up here if you want to learn how to build some AI solutions. Aside from that, I will see you in the next one.